Live, another drawing. Hope you will enjoy this one. Once again, it's going to be a girl. She's going to be facing you, looking at you with her hand on her chin, with the head resting on her chin. So let's begin. I'm beginning with the hairline. Starting with the hairline and going from there. I'm trying to get the right pen here, you know. All right, I'm using a brown sepia ink. So the first thing, once again, friends, trying to establish the hairline, you see, the face. So when I make my plan, I'm always looking at, I already have the figure in my mind. I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. So the hairline is going like this. So I'm just establishing the borders, mapping out everything, you know. So there would be the thing. Once again, make sure that you see it. So you see, I see the eyebrow is here. Right about here, I visualize it first, and then I draw it. So I'm going to have the eye, of course, is going to be this way, right here, right? So I could do it from this way like that, or I could go like this, because I see it already. You see what I'm saying? If you're able to like visualize it, it's going to be much easier for you to like look. Just like that, I see it right there. Okay, and then we're gonna like trim it up a little bit. And let's see about the forehead. You see, judge the forehead, and you know, make sure the angles, it's gonna be like that. If I was just using a pencil for a minute, maybe we can put some guidelines, you know, like right there. You see, and here, there's gonna be this bend going in like that. And the chin, oh, I'm sorry, the cheeks. So I want the head resting on her hand, you know, something like that. So I'm going with the broad angles first, you know. See, I visualize it right there. So you see, I'm not connecting all these lines. I don't have to because I see them. See, that's what you want to be able to get to. You want to be able to get to the spot where you're able to see the lines, but you're not really drawing them. Look, I'm not drawing it. I can see it here very clearly. I see one right there, coming down like so. Thank you for everybody for being there, friends. Welcome, Happy New Year. Hopefully it's a creative year for everybody doing creative work, you know. So there's the fingers, you know, approximate judging, just approximately, you know. So I'm gonna have a hand like that. And you know, you want to make sure that the angle, you see the angle is coming this way like this. All right, you want to understand those. So there's like It's actually like a, it's like a hollow shape, you want to understand it like that. So once again, look. So boom, and then here you have the ear, the ears. Okay, right there. So once again, you see I'm not connecting the line. The line is right there for you to see. Don't draw it until you see it. And then you really develop your drawing skills. Look like so, right? And you see the hairline is right there. And then it's like this. Do you see that? I'm like tracing it in the air because I want you to see that it's visible for you to be able to, like, without even drawing you, it's visible to you, right? Can you see it? That's the point. Can you see it? So once you see it, you're going to drop it, execute the line right there like that, okay? So as you can see, friends, it's taking shape. Visualize, then you draw. Okay, now we have a ton of other stuff to visualize, like for example the eyes, and I'm going to show you right now how I do it. Look, visualize the lines. All right, now let's see the eyes, right? So you want to make sure you first see the eye, and you see it right there. It's right here. It's right there like this. You see? And then the eyeball is right there. And here it is, right like that, all right? So we have also the planes and the perspective and these planes, You're popping it out, the relief, Like you're sculpting it out. So the nose is going to have to pop out of the paper. So you want to make sure that you have those bends and those planes like this, look. All right? So visualize first. The mouth should be here. Let's visualize it right there. And we always want to give a little gap here, between the upper and the lower lip to create a little expression, you see? Now, as you can see, friends, now I just did that with a pencil. So let's try to go back and underline it up with a pen here, right? And then we'll consider coloring it. But there it is, and you want to put the upper. Okay. There's the eyebrow. We want to move it up a little bit. We want to make all these adjustments. Okay, so now you see the eye, You always visualize it before you draw it. So now you see the other eye. Where is it? Hello, where is the other eye? And it's right here, friends. You see the point I'm making right there? And you see it, it's right here. So the trick is for you to see that line, The line exists already, so you're gonna simply trace it. Because you just visualized it into place, you see? So when you actually see the line in that manner, you can approach the line in many different ways. You can go this way or this way. Like look at the bottom part of the eye, right? It could come like this, or I could go like that. Because I see it already. It's already done. So I'm just like tracing what I've already seen in there, If you think of it like this, your drawing will take a new dimension and you'll be able to draw really well and fast and accurately. Okay, so there it is. Once again, you need the upper thing right there, right? Now I'm thinking maybe the eyebrow is a little too close, to the eye. So this line should be actually up. But that doesn't matter because we'll make all those mistakes and fix them later on, right? So you want to make sure that you're first getting your thing. So you see I have the double lines here. We'll have to fix all this later. And that's the thing. Those are the challenges that come later, but we're establishing the basic drawing right now, and we are happy so far. So you see, as you can see, visualize, and you visualize this inner line here. You see that? It's right so, like so, okay? Coming back down like that. All right, friends, thank you all for watching. I'm not checking any comments, so please forgive me because I'm busy doing this. I have to break this and look up there to see who is commenting, so please excuse me, but please send me all the comments. So as you can see, friends, we continue, right? And if you take a look here, once again, you're going to make sure that you visualize the lines. Very important. Like here's the cheek part. And then you go back over it and you fix it. You want to make sure that you go over it a couple of times. There's always a little gap here between the upper lip and the bottom. And right there, and then we work with the nostrils. The nose is always a little bit tricky because you want to show the under part right here. Depending on the angle, you want to make sure there's light reflecting off the top of the nose right here. All right, and then we're going to go pow. So right there, friends, as you can see, boom, boom, boom. We got it up so far, and now it's time to refine those fingers, and which is always very, very, very tricky. So once again, if you're visualizing these things, right, things become much more easier because you tend to see them before you make the drawing. So the chances you're going to make a mistake are lessened because you always know exactly where you're drawing the line. But also the other thing is for you not to worry about making mistakes, right? But rather focusing. You can draw the line many times, but in the end, you want to make sure that you're true to what you're trying to achieve, or to your reference. Whether the reference be from your mind or from a real photograph or from a source, right? So like, look, now we're going to refine those, try to make it as cool as possible. All right, now we're getting somewhere with this. So what I do is I'm trying to refine it. And I like to make my drawings look like drawings rather than realistic. I'm not going for realism because I'm not really into realism, especially nowadays with all the photographs and everything that you can make anything realistic. There's no point in struggling to get to be realistic, but expressionistic is very, very beautiful in my opinion. So when you see those strokes of your lines, like these, for example, the very strokes, they make up the whole beauty of the art, I believe. It's more creative rather than realistic. So once again, visualize it, boom. Now, since she's got the hand going up like this, the neck can be anywhere here, And so once again, you see an opportunity to visualize before you draw it. Here you go. Should it be about here? No. Let's do up high. It's right about here. And maybe she's wearing her shirt or whatever, the neck part right there. And it's going to extend down here. And we can have it going onto your shoulders right here, like this, okay? So as you can see, friends, visualize before you draw it, okay? That's the whole point. Now let's see how we can enhance this a little bit. Now that I'm a little bit comfortable with the basic, carefully placed, lines, you don't want to mess up in this area because it's going to go crazy. So it's a good thing for you to use a pencil. See, I'm using directly a pen, because I'm a little bit more confident with my strokes and my lines. And also you can fix them, by going back if you did make a mistake. And it's with the shading that you have to be very careful, So it's once again, your challenges are basically the contours, the lines, and then the shading and the values, which is a whole other story. So which is what we're going to attempt here right now. Okay, so once again, let's go over these lines, get this drawing established a little bit. And so now, obviously, I want to think about like these broad shapes. Now I'm like, did I make my drawing as good as I want it to be? Well, in this case, it's like 70% yes, but this, I'm just like doing a demo and practicing. So we are not looking for a finished product, but an approach. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here, friends, is the approach, Once again, with a pencil or with a pen, visualize the lines, the basic lines, Keep the picture in mind, what it is that you want to draw. And if you're looking at a reference picture, you want to make sure you look at it, remember it in your mind, keep it in your mind fresh, keep that image, You need a little practice, and it's going to get right for you, I'll tell you that for sure. You have to practice looking at a picture and then looking away and trying to draw it real quick. So look at a picture, keep the image, then don't look at it again, but just draw it. I'm going to do a demo of this soon, friends. So please tune in for my upcoming lives, where I'm going to demo exactly what I'm talking about. It's cognitive drawing. And there's an exercise to it, it's called cognitive drawing. It's looking at a picture, an image, and then drawing it without looking at it, just from your memory, all right? It's a good training exercise, and I hope you'll all tune in, share, tell your friends about it. Okay, and definitely subscribe to my channel for those people who haven't. I'm going to put these up on full-time videos, plus you can watch those live demos. They'll be up on my page. All right, so now that I have this, friends, let's see what we can do with a brush, It's always funny because every time I'm looking for my brush, I can't find it sometimes. The very one brush that I'm looking for, it's unbelievable. It's almost like goblins are around grabbing things out of my hand, It's weird, friends. Sorry about that, but that's the way I feel. So let's go with, this color is already in there a little bit. So I'm just using water to now fill in the blanks, And you can begin anywhere, but here's where you want to be very careful with values. So you want to make sure like the forehead is lighter than the hair up above. So it doesn't matter what colors you put. Like, I'm not even worried about realistic colors, but I'm worried about values. And this is definitely tricky, and I'm by no means an expert at this at all. So we are practicing this together, So once again, I would have the same color going down this way, and then I'm going to see where I can add some touches of and like I said, it doesn't matter the color at this point, as long as it's a similar value, because this is only the underlayer, this is the first layer, the underpainting, you could say that. And by the way, I'm using watercolor on a cheap, regular paper. It's not even watercolor paper. But to practice the approach, it's not important for you to have like excellent high quality paper. Like as you can see, it's visualizing the lines and it's drawing them, okay? As you can see, friends, it's always that, okay? So once again, look, now I have this, right? And it's gonna go here. And this is what I mean, visualizing, look, it's going reverse. And you see how my strokes are going like this? Some people just go like this, boop, 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 boop. You can, but you know, you want to be also having if you have you must have that confident, stroke, you see? Look, just like that, boom. And you know, any accidental effects that you get, you want to make sure you use them. So if there's any accidental things that's happening here, right? Like these that look good, that's the best. It's like a gift from nature. So keep using those accidental things that happen as you draw, okay? So there's always things that are going to be happening as you draw that are like. So now I'm beginning to do a little bit of like defining, you know? All I'm thinking about is like to make sure that there's some depth to this hairlines and like some, obviously those lines, that you see the hair flowing down. So, and also like keeping in mind the values, of this. This is what I'm trying to do here. So as you can see, friends, you can then continue on to make it really, really excellent, but I'm just trying to show an approach here, and this is what I would be working on. If this is watercolor, as you can see, this is watercolor, and it's very tricky. You don't want to, you can't draw over it like you would with acrylic or oil paintings or gouache. You could draw over it, but watercolor you can't. So you can only glaze it, All right, so let's touch up the eyebrows here a little bit. And we're going to make this whole drawing very consistent with, with the strokes, with what it looks like, You're not going to make one part realistic and the others sloppy like this. So we're going to make the whole thing expressionistic and sloppy. All right. Now let's go and touch up some of the eyes, for example, and let's go with a different color, for example, right? Let's try blue. Even though this isn't a color drawing, the whole thing is going to be sort of like brown. We'll just touch up the eyes a little like that, make it darker, and this is a way for you, it's going to give you. So what you want to think of, friends, very important at this point is you see the white area here. You see how the values are popping out? And so when I put in when I darken the eyes, and the minute I darken the eyes, right, you can see the values are popping out. There's always a black spot in the eye, which is the pupil, and there's always a reflection that's white, like right here. All right, so that's a little bit of it. If you do that, you're going to get the eye right. So, and this is upper thing is always darker. Okay, we got that right. And you see the same color, we can touch up this part as well. And now, as you can see, the lights and the darks, right? It's popping out. Everything is getting clear, rocking and rolling. So there you go. So we're going to touch it up. So once again, friends, always visualize it. And let me touch this up a little since these things are popping out more. So we got that right, okay? Now, let's see what we can do. So step by step, what I'm trying to do is to pop out the values and see what I can come up with. So let's go to the lips. They definitely are going to be darker. And you want to make those accidental things that are happening, and you want to leave them and let them be, And you always want to leave the lights, like you said, like, this is this watercolor. You don't want to touch those white areas if you want them to stay white, So let's leave it right there and maybe darken it a little bit more in the bottom upper lip, just to give it a little more variety in color or the shade. So, okay, so we're going to leave that for the moment. We're going to leave it right there. And once again, keeping in mind the overall shape of it and what's going to happen. So now the next thing would be to touch up to shade the areas, where on the nose. And so, for example, right here, let's begin here. And I'm using the same kind of brownish color to first lay out the shades and keep them as you can see, friends, right there. And then you want to make sure you blend it. Okay. So once again, what am I trying to do is to pop that nose up, And that's all it is, a little bit of a touch here and a little bit of touch there to pop everything up. There's a little shadow under the eye, and the same up here. All right, now as you can see, it's taking a little bit more shape, and the white part looks good for now, but it's going to get tricky because if you're going to lay it up with some color, you want to make sure what that color is and how it's going to relate to the rest of this, because it's very easy to mess it up at this point by putting in the wrong color. But we are not even going to do that for the moment. What we are really doing, friends, is to establish a light and shade, to give form to this. So we're trying to give form. So for example, there's a cheekbone here, So how do you see the cheekbone? And you just draw a line. And I'm just drawing, using a brush to draw is very, very good practice. So I suggest that everybody use a brush to draw, right? There you go. And now it's almost like I'm using the brush like a pencil, You can draw the lines on it. You see, now I'm giving some form to this whole thing. There you go, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. Now let me see what else we can put in there that's going to enhance it a little bit. And all I would do at this point is put in some strokes. All right. So there you go, we're almost finished with the process for the time being. And we don't want to refine it anymore. So I'm going to leave it for now and see if I can come back to this later and see if I can fix it some more, okay? Friends, thank you all for watching. There you go, we came up with nothing, but there we are right now. Have a great day, guys.